You about some of the decisions that we have taken in the first physical meeting of the Politburo, of the full Politburo, that could be held virtually in the last 2 years. The first issue is that as far as the Lakhimpur Kheri brutality is concerned, the CPIM Politburo firmly demands that the minister, whose son was the prime accused and he was driving the car that killed 4 farmers and a journalist, apart from 4 others, he has already been arrested, but there must be strict punishment that must be meted out to him and expeditiously. Secondly, the minister, Ajay Mishra Teni, must immediately resign because his speeches were a provocation for unleashing violence against the farmers, and as a result of which this incident happened. So he is, in a sense, played an important role in this brutality. And being the Minister of State for Home Affairs, justice cannot be delivered in this case, where his son is the prime accused. Holding that crucial ministry at this particular point of time, which is in charge of law and order, that is something that is not acceptable. So he should be sacked immediately. That is what the Politburo demands. The second point is that the slackness in the manner in which we are handling the COVID pandemic is once again surfacing very, very alarmingly. Till date, less than 20% of our population are fully vaccinated, and 48.7% have got 1 shot. Now the Modi government is in record, through an affidavit to the Supreme Court, assurances to the nation, saying that by the end of the year, that is 31st of December, all 18 plus people in our country, that is the entire adult population, will be vaccinated fully. Now that is impossible at this rate. Now the festive season has begun. You will have a series of social activities where large congregations will take place. And the dangers of the spread of this coronavirus will multiply. Unless protection through vaccination is rapidly given, we cannot possibly prevent another unleashing of a very brutal attack, and that is something neither the people nor the country can afford. So we are asking the Modi government to immediately procure, augment your domestic production facilities. Many of them are lying dormant in the public sector. Let them produce these vaccines, import if necessary, but increase the pace of this vaccination. If it can be done for Mr. Modi's birthday, why it can't be done on every other day at the same pace is something that the country would want to know. So this has to be undertaken very, very urgently. The continuous rise in the prices of petrol, diesel and petroleum products, particularly cooking gas, has really hurt the livelihoods of crores of people across the country. For 6 days in a row, the prices of petrol and diesel have been hiked. Compared to 5 years ago, diesel price today is double what it was in 2016. And during this period, the international prices have been declining sharply. Only of late, they started again rising. But the entire period of decline in the international price levels, that is something that has not been passed over to the consumer as it should have been. On top of it, the central excise duties are continuously being hiked, to the extent that in the price of petrol, now it is estimated that close to 70% is because of the taxes and levies. Now, through this, the government collected last year 3,61,000 crores. 3,61,000 crores of extra income was collected through your excise duties alone. Leave apart the cesses that they are imposing. Now, this is leading to a inflationary spiral all across. The prices of essential commodities, food, vegetables, milk, the transportation costs having gone up. Because of that, you have a general inflation level, which is not only hurting the people, but it is also hurting the economy. The warnings of the RBI, etc., have also to be taken into heed by the government. And therefore, what we are asking and demanding is the immediate withdrawal of central excise duties on all petroleum products. The gas cylinder now is 1,000 rupees, one gas cylinder. And all the great schemes that the government had launched on providing safe cooking for each household, etc., all that has completely collapsed. So immediately withdraw all the central excise duties on petroleum products and control this price rise. Next, the Politburo strongly condemned the sale. Actually, it's not a sale, but it's the gift of Air India to the Tatas. The central government will get a mere cash transfer of a mere 2,700 crore rupees for the entire carrier with all its core assets. And of the debt that is there of more than 60,000 crores, the Tatas will take over 15,000 odd crores, will be responsible for clearing that, while the government will retain more than 46,000 crores. That has to be paid back. Now, this 46,000 odd crores that has to be paid back is going to be paid back from people's money, from the settled revenues. That is, the burden is on the people. Now, while you are gifting the airline to the Tatas and making the people pay the debt that was incurred by Air India, and the debt that has been incurred by Air India was incurred in order to purchase new assets, including a brand new fleet of aircraft. All these aircraft and these assets will go to the Tatas. But the debt, because of which these assets were created, that will be paid by the Indian people. This is the outright wholesale loot of our national assets that's going on. This is something we strongly condemn. We have called for strengthening the party to join the protests against this, which the trade union federations have called, and to strengthen these protests in the coming days. This overall loot of our national assets is the complete daylight highway robbery that is being committed by this Modi government. An alarming situation is developing in Jammu and Kashmir. The killing of innocent civilians by terrorist attacks and the spate of terrorist attacks that are continuing to increase completely negate the claim of this government, which said that in 2019, when they abrogated Article 370 and 35A, that with this, the complete integration of Kashmir with India has happened, and now there will be a total control over the activities of terrorist organizations. But what is happening there is completely to the contrary. The sort of insecurity that the people are feeling in Kashmir has not been like this since the early 1990s, when there was a spate of sudden burst of terrorist attacks. So therefore, this heightened violence is further alienating the people of J&K. The Prime Minister called their leaders and spoke very, very rhetorically about saying that he will eliminate the Dil ki Duri and Dilli se Duri of J&K people. Neither Dil ki Duri nor Dilli se Duri has been erased. On the contrary, greater alienation and greater attacks. So therefore, we are saying that this deliberate targeting of religious minorities in Kashmir is also aimed at sharpening communal polarization, which is what the BJP seeks. Now, this is a dangerous game that is happening, and particularly with the developments that are taking place, that are now ongoing in Afghanistan, and the fallout of it that will happen on us, possible fallout of and the fears of that. In that background, the question of further alienating the people of Kashmir through the question of tightening the restrictions, arrests and draconian measures, this is something that is going to be very dangerous for India. What is required is political involvement. What is required is to work together. The People's Alliance for Gupkar Declaration consists of parties who are all committed to strengthening the relations with Delhi, with the center, exactly what the Prime Minister talked. So involve them in the political processes and work out a possible solution to this. That has to be done very urgently, otherwise it's going to be a very dangerous situation, because arbitrary decisions that are being taken, excessive use of force, that cannot continue, because that will only contribute to further alienation. The confidence of the people must be earned by the government, not demanded. It has to be commanded by the government. And that can be done only through proper political involvement of all the forces. Finally, this meeting, the main agenda of this meeting was to discuss the outline for the political resolution of the CPIM's 23rd Party Congress. Because of the COVID pandemic situation and also the elections in the states of Bengal, Kerala, Tamil Nadu and Assam, this Congress got a little delayed. It is now scheduled to be held in April in Kannur in Kerala, as has been previously announced. But the outline for the political resolution, Politburo discussed, and that will now be presented to the Central Committee on the 20th, and from the 20th to the 22nd of October. That meeting will then finalize the text of the draft subsequently, which will go to the entire party rank and file and before the country. The CPIM probably is the only political party in India since our inception where the political resolution that will be discussed by the party's highest body, that is the party Congress, will be released to the entire rank and file and to the people 2 months before the party Congress. That is our constitutional provision. And it must be available in all languages so that people can read them. Anybody can send an amendment, any party member, directly to the Central Committee, which will be considered and responded to at the party Congress. So this internal democracy process will kick into motion, and therefore by February our resolution would be ready and released to the public, and that discussions are now begun to finalize that resolution. In the meanwhile, the state conferences all take place who will elect the delegates to the All India Congress. 4 states have already successfully concluded their conferences. That is Delhi, Himachal Pradesh, UP and Haryana. The others are all scheduled. So each delegate is an elected delegate by the delegates of the state conferences. So this elaborate process of inner party democracy that has begun, which happens every once in 3 years in our party. So that has already been initiated. So these are some of the major decisions that the Politburo has taken. Now it's up to you.